Broncos absolutely flogged James Graham's Bulldogs. We'll talk about that a little later. The Cowboys, the Titans. We'll have to stead very, very quietly around the Titans.
You can say whatever you want about them.
They were not good last night again, and there will be some questions asked by everything I call BS. But it's a warm welcome to the Hall of Famer, Gorden Tallis. Hello, my friend.
Good afternoon to everybody, actually. It was so good across the road at Pertell Park, the mighty West Panthers. For the first time this year, I heard all the whistles going and the
Junior
black and
footy's
red.
back.
Yeah, junior footy officially started in Queensland, so good luck to all those kids driving to their first game today and all the kids that have just played driving home. Congratulations, playing the greatest game of all. But it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, it is a cracking day. James Graham, hello, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks, Ben. It's interesting to hear how you describe your teams and their team. And yeah, you're just on about every bandwagon in the NRL, so you can always have a good week.
Yeah, I'm always happy. This bloke's back. Surprised. That's an understatement. But
Do you want to get your knife out of his back that you put in there last week?
I don't know what you're talking about. James
'Cause you
Hooper,
don't have that many
James
left.
Hooper, hello, my friend.
Good afternoon, Ben. I did hear you white-handing me last week, trying to get our very good friend, Mr. Peabody, Brent Reid, onto this program. I did hear you doing that, mate. So, yeah, I wasn't surprised, I must say.
Mate, I just said that we are going to ask some questions. The show has never been as good, and everybody is under review on a constant thing. The three of you are a constant under review, and I've had some discussions with our EP, our executive producer, Charlie White, this week. We will talk about that a little later. Last night, Cowboys 50, Titans 18, but the big game that everybody was hoping for, and it's been a special Anzac round, was Manly 26, defeating the Penrith Panthers 10. Let's look at that. Manly are back. 3 straight losses, and then they came up last week. It coincides with Tommy Turbo coming back into the side. It seems to be the way. But the good news for me was Daly Cherry-Evans back to that form that we know he can be at. Gordy, I'll start with you. I was a little surprised. I tipped Penrith in this one up. The last week I thought they'd turn the corner. But they've got some issues there, but Manly were very good.
Manly were really good, and I think the scoreline in the end flattered the Panthers. That 40-20 from Nathan Cleary, I think Hopewadi got it, and the linesman put up his flag, and it gave Penrith a little bit of momentum, and they scored a couple of tries. But I thought Manly were absolutely outstanding. But probably the positive sign for Manly is the champion side, Penrith, come back, and they want to do that, that heroic come-from-behind victory. And Manly steadied the ship, where in the past 3 weeks they wouldn't have been able to do that. So it was a great win by Manly. Good to see him back. And as I said, if I'm a Manly fan, I'm getting a shirt made up. No Tommy, no trophy.
Olakau'atu was good as well.
Tommy. Mate, out jumping a fullback.
He was special yesterday.
He's a freak.
That right edge, we watched him closely against the Dragons. And how does a team turn around that level of performance in a matter of 10 days, 8 days, 9 days, whatever it was?
Well, they'll tell you it's because they had the longer turnaround. See, they played 3 games in 11 days. They made this point. Hamoli actually made this point after the game. But they'd had a longer turnaround, and so they were able to fix it. I just felt as though you're right. He seemed as though, Jimmy, that he's got state of origin in the back of his mind, and he has been a little quiet by his standards. So he needs to show Laurie Daly that he still wants to own that jumper, and he certainly did that, as did their captain, Daly Cherry-Evans, who'd come under all sorts of scrutiny leading into that game, and answered that he will wear the Queensland number 7 jumper, no doubt.
I wonder if in that time, that longer recovery time, some of their senior players have maybe come together and put out some fires, maybe that have been burning a little bit in the background. We know they've made the headlines with some player movement, particularly Daly Cherry-Evans. And since that announcement, that they've really struggled to perform. And I just wonder maybe if they've just got together. We know it happens at a multitude of teams where just have a little bit more time on your side. You're not thinking footy, review, preview, straight off the plane, review, and then get focused on the following week. Maybe they've come together and said, look, should we just put this to one side? Should we just focus on what we can do? Because it's clear that they can compete with the best. When they play like that, we all know that. But again, like Olakau'atu, maybe a bit inconsistent, but when he plays like that, he's phenomenal. And I think
Well, maybe
they
it knocked around the senior players a bit more than what you thought, right? And time heals all wounds, and whether DCE or the Dvojevic brothers or one of the senior players just addressed it and said, boys, listen, we can't change what's happened, but, let's not throw the season away or whatever's been said or nothing said, and they realise those 3 poor performances are not them, and they don't want to kiss this season goodbye because at their best, I think they are one of the heavyweights or close to one of the heavyweights. They've got to get it right, but if they get everybody on their field, mate, Oli Kawatu, mate, I don't think we need wingers anymore. Mate, we saw Lindsay Collins out-jump Tedesco in a state of origin or whatever. Now we watch back rowers out-jump fullbacks. Just put back rowers everywhere. Seriously, just put them in the centres on the wing. Let's just put them everywhere.
I think we probably are putting too much emphasis on those 3 losses. Like, I mean, they got
we're not. What are you talking
about? Hang on. They got beaten 2018 and Garrick missed the kick against St George.
Right? They were dreadful. They were dreadful against the Dragons.
Were they dreadful in Perth? They were
weren't
dreadful
great.
against Melbourne, no question. I didn't think they were that bad against them in Perth.
But they still lost 3.
Yeah, they did. But they were a lot closer. They were flogged by Melbourne.
Right, so they got beaten by the Dragons, by 2 points. Let's be honest. Yep. So they're still working on their game and trying to find out who they're going to be. And then they're in a massive rebuilding situation. And you got Melbourne put the cue in the rack. I don't know at what stage of the game, but it could have been a bloodbath if they kept on playing footy on them. And then I thought, wow. And then I called it with you, Jimmy. And then we were sitting there and were Melbourne that good or were Manly that bad? And now you look at, the situation. I think Manly just weren't dealing with what they have, but it's good to see them get the ship back in the right direction.
They showed great bottle, Dobbo, because Penrith are coming to get them there early in the second half. As you pointed out, when Nathan Cleary puts in that awesome kick and the Panthers start to score some points and gain some momentum, you did feel as though, hang on, the Premiers have awoken here and Manly were up against the ropes. But to their credit, they found a lot of bottle and they found a lot of fight, and ultimately they put the game to bed. And it was the big guns. It was Daly Cherry Evans. It was Tommy. It was Hamoli. And I thought all of their forward pack really hunted as a pack in defence.
Yeah.
Kohler.
Yeah. What I would say is that Belinda Sharp did a very good job, but we have really lost the plot.
Oh, we've jumped the shark.
Yeah, we've
lost the plot.
No, I'm serious about this.
Jump the shark's better than lost the plot, Dobbo. Anyway,
Takiaho's sin binning last night was disgraceful, and I'm going to say that straight up. It was like I get what they're trying to do.
What they're trying to do. If you hit someone in the head, you might spend 10 minutes in the bin. That might be it. So then that's the landscape. I heard Andrew Voss say it in the call. Don't blow up. That's the new landscape. Stop hitting players in the head, right? Whether it's soft, mate, whether we think it's soft, right? I think the game's got to protect these players from themselves sometimes. And is it bad? And it's never been the game that I played. Mate, I never played the game. I never played the game that Arthur Beetson played.
No, but did you think Takiaho's was worth 10 in the bin? I think
in today's society, yes.
The more bizarre thing,
Hold on. Someone sent a picture last week and you said it was bullying. So you say that there is 10 in the bin. So all the people that wanted to say that was bullying last week, there's 10 in the bin. But if you want to back old school, that's not 10 in the bin.
I guess one of the things we look for in all walks of life, and especially with this, is consistency. And because we have the bunker intervening, that's where I think we would like to see a more consistent approach applied. And we're just not getting it at the moment. And for me, it was epitomised by
humans are never going to be consistent.
I know. Well, it's difficult, Gordy, but I think there's room for improvement there at the level of the bunker. The match officials have an incredibly difficult job to judge things with the human eye. But when you've got the ability to use the video, that's where the decision. But also, I think there's a level of confusion because when Blaise Talangi is hit by Tommy Trbojevic's leg.
Yes.
It's deemed, the match official says there's been high contact there, and there was. What's the difference between a leg and if that's his arm or his leg? Like, what does it matter?
That's right.
Well, can't the leg, it's not often you see players hitting the head
very
by
uncommon,
a leg.
But he's still
so isn't that, can't that be deemed innocuous?
Well, there's mitigating circumstances, isn't there? But
the bigger one for me, and you make a great point, Jimmy, was Isaiah Yeo. So he's caught Tommy Turbo flush on the schnoz late in the contest, and Tommy had claret all over his face at the end of the game. He went on report no sin bin, and then the MRC Match Review Committee have put their charges out this morning.
He got nothing.
Siwa Torquiaho has been hit with a grade 1 careless high tackle. Isaiah, yeah, and we all love him as a player and a bloke, but he hasn't been hit with anything at all. So I think that's where the confusion, and I think the solution's a pineapple, Gordy, like it really is. People at the moment, it's just throw the cards in the air and see where they land.
Yeah,
Nobody really knows.
I can live with this at the moment when players are doing to each other. That 40-20 for me, when the touch judge saw it right and it goes upstairs and they see that he got the ball back in before, and then that was a huge momentum swing. So I think they should be allowed to, like, I know there's the captain's challenge, but they didn't have time once they saw the replay. But that there should be an official challenge. But that should be the bunker.
Overruling the referee.
Hey, hold on, mate. You got that wrong. Yep. This wasn't two players going in and one slipping and it's players doing it. This was a rule official. The player did an unbelievable job. He got it wrong.
Yep.
Not the players, dropping the ball, hands on the ball and trying to milk something. This was a linesman.
And in fairness to the touchy too, he's 20 metres away. Like he was a long way away. And Cole, to the naked eye, he did. Sorry, it was Lehigh. He did look out. Like he looked.
Mate, but
they've got
to the naked eye,
that.
did right, and then he did. But then when you go back and in hindsight, which we have now with the match review committee, it wasn't.
No.
So I reckon he should go, hey, listen, mate, it wasn't out. Sorry, we got that wrong.
Yep.
Well, they don't. You can't even criticise them anymore.
I would
this
prefer
is the
that,
drama.
but when players do stuff and there's hands on the ball and those 50-50 head-eyes, well, they're going to go to – and I don't have skin in the game, right? If I was like a true fan, if I'm a coach and I live and die by the results, I'd have a totally different opinion. But for me, sitting at home watching it, you know what? Let's clean it up.
Just for everybody, Scott Sorensen's been charged. First offence, he's got, if he early guilty plea, it was a grade 2, so he's got 2 weeks on the sidelines if he takes the early. Dylan Edwards for tripping, he copped $750. And that was, and what you just said, Takiaho cops $1,000 from that last night game.
Did he get him?
In the
Did
Titans
he get $1,000
game,
for not getting him properly?
In the Titans game, and we will get to that, Jolliffe's got 2 weeks for a careless high shot. Griffin Neem, he copped $1,000. I don't know if anybody saw Brock Gray come on, but it was the quickest sin binning in the history of rugby league. He was literally on for 16 seconds, makes one tackle and goes off for 10. He's copped $3,000 for a careless high tackle. And
do they pay that themselves?
Well, I'm not sure. Look,
Jimmy?
Panthers.
Hold on.
I think it's on the player to pay it, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. So
it gets deducted out of their wage every month. So
it's a tax write-off as well. Brilliant.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is.
How do we know that, James?
Go check my records, Dobbo. I've never paid a single dollar in fines to the NRL. But I'm pretty sure it would be a tax write-off. I mean, not that you... That's one for you.
Hey, listen.
I love the fact.
I need a tax break this year. I might start hitting people in the head.
No, don't do that. We don't condone that.
I might get a couple of weeks off.
Can we just talk about Penrith quickly? We all saw last week's performance against the Roosters.
Tired. They're just tired.
They've got Broncos next week. I'm not prepared to write them off. I really mean that.
No, but I'm not writing them off. They're just tired.
But Gordy, the challenge for them now, we know 13 wins gets you to the 8. 13 wins will make the 8. They've got, 16 games left now?
They've got 11 to win.
Yeah, they've got
with
to win
Origin.
11. Yeah, with Origin. It is a tough scenario for them. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but every week they've got Brisbane this week.
They've probably only definitely got 3 players in State of Origin. They might have more, but they'll definitely have
Cleary.
3. Yo, Cleary and Martin. Definitely. Tedesco is...
Edwards will be, I think, hang on. Yeah, you're laughing at Gordy picking the New South Wales side again.
No.
He's being serious here. No, he's being serious.
I might think Jeff Tuvey. I might think Jeff Tuvey had his team on 360 when the other night, and then he just said Tedesco. He goes, mate, he was close to winning the Dalian. Mate, I'm just saying that they're not definites.
Okay, well,
they're
still going to be impacted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, Gordy, they'll be 5.
Cleary, Yo, and Martin.
Yeah. In all
is going to
likelihood,
impact them.
Yeah, and Edwards. So
yeah.
You know when you say
do
Dobbo,
you know what? I'll have a bet. I reckon Tedesco will be New South Wales fullback, just because sheerly because I didn't think that he deserved. I didn't think because he's a.
Stop calling me Shirley Gordon. I've been telling you about this. This is off there.
Listen, he was the Australian captain, and I don't believe it's a bit like the Carlin Ponga. Like I thought Tedesco didn't do enough to lose his jersey. That's just my opinion. But you had a guy that had won 3 grand finals, so it was a great argument. And it was 50, like it was 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. And then when they went Edwards, I thought, well, mate, what a player, and he deserves his spot. But I didn't think that it didn't mean that James Tedesco did not deserve to keep his jersey, like in the same boat.
Gordy, we can all see, with the greatest of respect, we can all see where this is coming from. You've got to be very careful of cane toads bearing gifts at this time of the year.
I'm happy to put my weekly wage on that New South Wales won't run out with the same 17, even if they're not injured, than what they did when they won the competition last year.
You don't think they'll stay loyal? You don't think they'll stay loyal?
No, because it's 12 months ago,
doesn't he?
Yeah, well, Nathan Cleary's going to be fit, so there's one anyway.
So there you go. So they've changed their team without me even poking.
And you got to where you wanted to get
to. And I reckon the hooker will be changed, and I reckon the number one will be changed.
I think Reece Robson's got that.
Okay.
Just on Penrith, Dobby, you say you're not prepared to write them off. You think they play finals? Like here, just...
I'm asking you guys. You guys are the experts.
No, here we go. Come on, mate. You're the expert.
I'm struggling to see how they make the finals just with that uphill challenge, and we know they've proven and gone against the odds so many times and they've done the impossible. But it's just, you know what, Gordy, you say they're tired. I think they're really stretched.
Yeah,
and you look at some of their like Blaise Talangi, he looks young. And I know he is young, but he looks really young.
He came up with a good play last night for that try.
He did, but geez, they look stretched.
I think Gordy hit the nail on the head earlier when he said they look tired. And Gordy, to me, it looks like there's a lot of parallels with Penrith in 2025 and the Broncos in 1999. And you were part of those sides. You'd won the split competition in 97, then you won the United one in 98. And it just, to me, it really does look like there's a lot of elements of history repeating. The Broncos did go on a run and did make the finals in that particular season back then. I'm with you, Jammer. I'm not so sure. Now, I'm not writing them off because they are a champion outfit and they've won 4 straight. No one's done that before for a hell of a long time. But it does look as though it's getting harder and harder.
If they can't beat Brisbane this weekend and then the Cowboys the following weekend before they go to a bye, they won't make the 8. It gets a little softer for them after that, but they have to beat Brisbane and then the Cowboys in the next 2 weeks before the bye.
I'm not prepared to write off because they're champions, I tell you. But if they do make the finals and if they do get close, it'll be probably one of their greatest performances ever.
Dobbo, I'll tell you what might breathe life into their campaign. If you put the pen through them now, or if you put the pen through them, if Brisbane beat them next weekend, will you put the red pen through?
Because the people of Western Sydney are my people, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not prepared to do that.
Mossman. Okay, can you name 5 suburbs out there?
Mount Druitt.
Yep.
He's struggling.
Park, Penrith City. Blue Mountains, Lithgow, they're all there. Western Sydney.
No, just around Penrith.
Well, go on, you do it.
Glenmore
People
Park,
Penrith,
Leppington, St Clair. Come on, Dobbo, you're nowhere, mate. You are nowhere.
You've been there for the wrong reasons, mate.
That's just the man of the West.
No, he's not.
That's the man of the people.
He's not a Westie.
Listen,
in a West,
you're bagging
mate.
the people's champ.
Well, the Broncos, 42 points to 18 over an undefeated Bulldogs. I would say it would be the first half was as good as Brisbane have played this season, and it would be probably, in the words of Cameron Serrato, the worst that his team had played in all season, that first half of football. No one saw it coming, but Brisbane had a solid win, a really solid win that puts them, I think, in second in the competition at the moment, and rightly so.
Fourth, Dobbo.
Fourth, sorry. And they've done a very nice job in getting their season back after that last week's loss, 2 losses in a row.
It was a great win from the Broncos. Obviously, the conditions comes down to kicking game. Adam Reynolds was sublime. It pelted down, didn't it? Like it really poured down. And that's where they needed to be. That's the performance that Brisbane needed to have. But on the other hand, the Dogs, they were really poor. And I just look at the 65,000 people, they're walking through like a college football team, the emotions, and they were really poor. 9 errors they completed at, just on 70% and missed 45 tackles.
They missed the start of the game, and then they were ill-disciplined as well.
Yeah, so Tilly Tupanua went to the bin. Burton went and so did Montoya.
Yeah.
They had three
it's the effort. See, so I'm talking about the effort. So like the week, a couple of weeks before, zero points against them, and they'll complete neither at 86%. So that means that they're getting through their sets. They got great discipline, and they're playing a great team game. So, but they've been up for a long, long time. Mate, the Dogs have been up. They were leading the competition. They may have got a little bit ahead of themselves. You know what I mean? Because people that went out to that stadium the other week said it was like a grand final or a big semi-final atmosphere, and it was in round 7.
Yeah, you're right, Gordy. That Good Friday game, it was epic. Like those scenes, it's the biggest crowd in the history of an NRL regular season game. And as you touched on, the Bulldogs, they go into camp before every game. Doesn't matter if it's a home game or an away game. So they actually stay out at Homebush, and then they did the walk from the team hotel through some of the throng of Bulldogs, blue and white Army supporters. And the scenes were crazy. Like it was epic. And then they held South to 0 and absolutely blew South Sydney off the park. And I think off the back of that, I don't think they got carried away, Gordy. I just thought that the Broncos were up and they had lost a couple of games and been disappointing in areas against the Warriors. I felt as though Madge had challenged him. And to your point as well, Gordy, about Adam Reynolds, like he was brilliant.
Yeah, in the wet conditions, his kicking game was absolutely sublime. Like it was one of the major contributing factors to that performance. Throw in Haas, Carrigan, Willison. But like I say, the Dogs, when they went to Brisbane last year, they put on a lot of yardage shifts and it got them success. And they tried to do it in the very first set. They made the error and then the Broncos scored and they just couldn't get back in that possession cycle. And I think there'll be a lot of learnings from that around, okay, if we make mistakes early in the piece, maybe let's look to minimise that mistake. Maybe we should have cancelled that game plan out because of the wet conditions. The error was forced, but I think there's a lot to learn there about how you can just steer yourself back into contention. They conceded a try, and then really the Broncos just dominated. And people will say, "Oh, the pack got exposed," but look, Bulldogs pack is Bulldogs pack. Every opposition team knows this.
Yep.
Every opposition team knows this.
And they've punched above their weight all year to date. It was just, they, like I said, I thought it was the Broncos that were really up for it. And to your point, Jammer, once the Bulldogs were in that washing machine cycle, they just couldn't fight their way out of it.
And this is our competition. This is the NRL season 2025. The last team to concede 42 points at Suncorp Stadium, Melbourne Storm, the week before against the Dolphins. That's the level of our competition right now.
So what are you trying to say? It doesn't matter. All those theories about the 42 points and premiership sides and all that, you think that's all scrap now?
What I'm saying is it happens, Dobber. It happens to Melbourne Storm against Redcliffe. It happens to the Bulldogs. Like, there's no need to panic.
This group of rugby league players now are the ones that come through the Toyota Cup, and they were so happy winning 32-30 when my era, you had to be prepared to win 8-6 or 2-0. Boys, we need to win 2-0. We do. Where now it's, boys, go out there, play your game, throw the ball around, and let's defend our mistakes. It's a different mindset, and these guys are coming through. That's why they've got so much skill. Yeah, is they go out there and every week they put it on, and that's what Gemma said, right? In the first set, they try to go for a shift. In wet conditions. That's.
Well, I predicted this.
And the momentum. No, to be fair to it,
hang on. Can you please be honest?
Oh, God.
Don't lead with your chin again, please.
I predicted all week.
He's got a few of them.
I want a pizza off Jason Demetrio. That's the first thing. Big New York Styles pizza because I said Brisbane would 13+. James Graham, you tell what happened before the game.
My son's 6, Billy, said that Brisbane were going to win by 30. And I told him to put his teeth back in.
Ask James. Well, he's just a bit smarter than me. James Graham, go ahead.
Dobbo, I don't like seeing the Bulldogs lose.
No.
but it was made even worse by the fact that you predicted it, and I think that hurt even more. That you said 13 plus. Geez, I was hoping that they'd get it to 12.
It really was.
I really was.
Yeah, mate.
It was devastating.
My little son's in
Dobber.
a tipping comp and said 30. And I said to my sister, don't do that. I said, mate, just 6. I said, if he wants to tip Brisbane, mate, buy 6. Dogs defence. We're sitting there.
Yeah.
Having a chicken palmy. Yeah,
Yep.
Dad, I told you. I'm thinking, mate, you better come on a Sunday show, take Dobbo's job.
Can we just say, that have the
He just
Bulldogs
doesn't know
been
the time frame
exposed?
yet.
Have the Bulldogs been
No.
exposed?
No.
No.
So you think they're still a premiership contender?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, because of,
No, but I just told you. The Melbourne Storm conceded 42 points against Redcliffe.
I don't have the Bulldogs and the Melbourne Storm neck and neck, mate. I'm sorry.
No,
No.
either.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that these things happen.
Yeah.
If you look at the game that's currently being played in terms of these momentums, these just avalanches of points, and how hard it is to sometimes try and dig yourself out of that. These are big lessons for teams, and I don't know if necessarily anybody has the answer. It's still yet to be figured out.
What about Selwyn Cobbo at fullback? Have we seen? Geez, it's a. I mean, Walsh is gone for the next 4 weeks. Cobbo off contract. He plays fullback. I thought he was very good, and I think he's in an audition for a contract at any NRL club at the fullback position, because that's where he wants to play. Now, there's an article in the paper today in the Courier Mail suggesting that he doesn't have an issue leaving Brisbane. Everybody always thought that he wanted to remain in Brisbane. He's from Cherbourg. He wants to be close to home. But how he played, it's a headache for Maguire, and it's also a headache, for clubs looking to try and which direction they go, because his performance was very, very good. Now, one game doesn't make a season. I understand that, but he was very good at fullback on Thursday night.
Outstanding. He's such a great athlete, Hoops.
Absolutely, Gordy. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'd try and have a big dip at Selwyn, because
Where does he play then?
well, he can play a variety of positions. He can play on the wing, he can play in the centres, or he can play fullback. And the Hammer's
Just getting because he's
versatile.
such a great player, and then between he and Hammer,
This is it.
right? If they got to play if there's a young kid burst on, he's a fullback. Well, they're your centres.
It gives you options.
Or one's a winger, one's a centre, fullback. Yeah,
It gives you options, and we know that they've got money because they're considering making a play for Daly Cherry Evans. So they've clearly got a little bit in the kitty. If I'm them, I would have a crack. Otherwise, they run the risk. The Western Bears, we're going to talk about them shortly. That's obviously a brilliant narrative that the Bears are back and are going to have a massive footprint over in the Golden West in Perth. And Billy Moore has gone on the record this morning in the papers saying that, Selwyn is the type of player that they would love to get a hold of.
Selwyn has to stay a drive away from Cherbourg.
Well, that's why the
Yes.
Dolphins make sense, Gordy. That's why I think that's the perfect fit for
the
it.
Selwyn Cobbo that I know and the family that I know, that's one thing that he needs every now and then, and one thing that he loves to do is go home to his people and his family and just sit there. And some people need that in their life.
I had a comparison the other day from a very high up NRL coach who said that they see, and Gordy, I'd be interested to know, in Hoops and Gemma, they see similar traits to Inglis at the same age with Selwyn. Is that a fair assessment when
Greg
you're gauging?
Inglis is Greg Inglis.
They
Greg Inglis at 17 or 19 was dominating people by 19, 20. And it's unfair putting. I think Selwyn Cobbo is Selwyn Cobbo.
Yeah.
I think Latrell Mitchell's Latrell Mitchell. I think Greg Inglis is Greg Inglis. And I know that they can go, okay, so he's an Aboriginal boy, pretty shy, comes from a small remote community that is very talented. Unbelievable. I just think GI went and played 5'8" for Melbourne in a grand final and won it. GI can play fullback. GI can play everywhere. GI would race out and smash a front rower in a state of origin, and I don't want to put that pressure on Selwyn Cobbo yet, but I got no doubt that he can be whoever he wants to be on a footy field, same as Latrell. But to carry Greg Inglis's name and say that you're the next GI, it's a pretty heavy name to carry in our game.